All right. Hey, everybody. Let me give you a quick tip for our newsletter. It's a little tip that the pros use a lot of times. Let's say you're in a musical situation and you've got a chord that lasts for a long period of time. Let's say I've got maybe an A minor chord. Well, what do? Well, I could just keep strumming the chord. That gets a little boring after a while, just doing that for a long period of time. Well, here's a little trick that you can do. You got to think about it. I'm going to break that A minor chord. Instead of viewing it as a whole chord, I'm going to view it as individual notes. I'm going to break that chord apart. The great Paul Jackson Jr., guitarist, studio guitarist out of L.A., who's currently playing on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, he's the master at breaking the chord apart and creating these great funky guitar parts. So I'm just going to take the notes in an A minor chord, maybe an A minor 7. Those notes would be an A, a C, an E, and a G. Well, that would be an A, a C, an E, G maybe, and then different octave, you know, A, C, E, G. So I'm just going to take the individual notes and play them while that A minor tonality is going on. So let's say, here's my groove, 1, 2, 3, 4. There I just used 2 notes. I used an A, and then I used the flatted 7th, which was the G. And I did a little palm muting down here while using the fleshy part of my palm against the bridge. Let's say I wanted to expand it a little bit further, and I do those 2 notes, the A and the G, but I can do different octaves too. Any of those. So it'll be 3, 4. There I did just 2 notes, but I created a much more exciting, much more interesting guitar part. Well, let's add another note. Let's add maybe the C to it. So I have an A, a G, the A and the C, and then I have a G. And those are the 3 notes I'm going to use. 3, 4, 1. Suddenly I created a much more interesting guitar part. Let's say I throw that E in there as well. Again, a very interesting guitar part, and I'm just using the same notes of an A minor chord. I'm just breaking it apart. Well, I can also use, let's say I'm doing, I could use intervals. Let's say I'm doing maybe thirds. So I have an A and a C, then maybe I have a C and an E. Maybe I'll even slip in a B and a D in between them, so I'm just going up the scale. A and a C, B and a D, C and an E. So here's my groove, 3, 4, 1. So I can do intervals like that, thirds. Well, what if I did maybe fourths? Imagine like your first pentatonic form. And what if I just did 2 notes on adjacent strings for each of those? Kind of mostly end up with fourths there. Well, what if I did my little groove with that? So I have something like maybe some thirds. Something like that. Well, just a little tip for you. As you're playing, try and break that chord apart. If you see an A minor chord or any chord for a long period of time, take the time, think about what notes are involved, and you can just mess around with just playing 1 or 2 notes. And you'll find that you can come up with a really great, kind of cool, funky guitar part. Have a great month. Enjoy working on it. We'll see you next time.